He tried to scream at the cabinet, but Kong Seo shut him up and forced him to be quiet. The guy who possessed Hizu's body sent a shiver down his spine with just a single glance. Haru's mom could only watch as her beloved son got what he deserved, and I think even Haru was scared by the ferocity he showed while protecting her. She had never seen him so dangerous, looking like he was ready for a big fight. Kong Seo was acting purely on instinct, as if he was willing to risk his life for her. The woman tried to defend her son, questioning how his parents had raised him. She begged Haru to stop him from beating her brother to a pulp. The girl just wanted to know if her mom would protect her like this if someone was hitting her. The woman immediately promised that she would protect her daughter. Haru asked her why she had never once protected her all these years, screaming and sobbing, heartbroken over the treatment she had endured. Haru tried to understand why they still didn't love her after everything she had given. To everyone's surprise, her mother just kept blaming her. The girl was overwhelmed by a sense of frustration that she shouldn't even exist. The woman yelled that with her personality, the only way out was to find an old man to be her sugar daddy. She believed Haru owed her life. Before she could finish her crazy rant, Seo grabbed Hizu again. He ignored the woman's screams and dragged him toward the stairs. The kid was desperately clinging to the edge of his jacket, and it was clear he could let go at any moment. He demanded they get out of Haru's life and never show up again. Seo glared at the woman and said he would really cripple her son. He kept him dangling there until Haru grabbed his jacket. With her head down, she just quietly begged him to stop. The girl broke down, saying she just wanted it all to end. Seeing her face, Kong Seo grew even more tense, clenching his jaw tightly. He roughly threw the kid onto the floor, away from the stairs. Kong Seo declared that from now on, they wouldn't dare to hurt Haru again. He saw the crazed look in the woman's eyes and told her they were completely done. The woman kept screaming insults and making threats. She wasn't going to let it go. He calmly walked toward the back of the room, ignoring their shouts. Eventually, Hizu told her to stop embarrassing herself and suggested she leave. Kong Seo grabbed the girl's suitcase and told her to pack her essentials. He added that she should stay at a hotel until she found a new place. To his surprise, she pushed him away and asked why she had to pack. He asked her not to make things harder and pleaded with her to give him a chance. He fell silent after she screamed that she was just incredibly ashamed. Covering her face, she said she was ashamed of herself after he had seen all of this. Haru said he shouldn't feel obligated to stay with her out of pity. He got angry, asking how she could possibly know how he felt about her. She broke down in tears, asking how he could love someone like her. He ignored all her concerns, took her head in his hands, and kissed her. Kong Seo felt like he was losing his mind, driven by this crazy mix of anger and desire. He pulled away from her lips and made it clear that he didn't find her pitiful. He gazed into her tear-filled eyes, as if trying to give her some kind of reassurance. A single look was all it took for her to pull him closer and kiss him back. Her actions stirred up a whole new wave of passion and emotion in him, and they ended up, as usual, trying to make everything better this way. They couldn't solve their problems, but they could give each other some comfort. Kong suddenly swept her up in his arms and pressed her against the wall. Their movements were so urgent and passionate, as if they were afraid of losing each other the next second. As time passed, their clothes came off faster and faster. Kong gently laid her on the bed, pausing to take a deep breath before continuing. He could list 100 reasons why he loved her, but none of that mattered now. The man suddenly lost control of his emotions, saying she was the most precious person in the world to him. He confessed with all his heart that he had loved her from the very beginning. Hearing those powerful words, the girl was on the verge of tears. Haru felt tears streaming down her cheeks and hugged him tightly again. She wanted to hear him say he loved her until the sun came up. In any case, they ended up spending Christmas together after all. Haru zoned out, realizing he had felt a sense of responsibility for her from start. She always felt she had it wrong, that his feelings weren't genuine. Sometimes she couldn't shake the thought that she was the one who couldn't let go. The girl knew that the longer they were together, the stronger these thoughts would become. Kong Seo agreed with that, but wasn't going to make excuses for his mistakes. He confessed that he just wanted to be with her, as long as she would let him. Haru asked if he would turn a blind eye if she continued to embarrass him with all sorts of things. Now that he knew everything about her, she didn't plan on hiding anything anymore. They started talking about how good he was at fighting, even though it was his first time. Haru laughed and said she found it incredibly refreshing. The girl added that she also wanted a chance to beat up her brother. Kong Seo said she was lucky and then kissed her again. Before long, the new year arrived. Young Haru had to move and change her residence on short notice. Even so, almost nothing changed in Kong Seo and the girl's relationship. They still woke up and ate together just like before. As time went by, the old wounds began to fade in their daily lives. Their days together passed one by one until Kong Seo got a new boss. He was surprised that such a big company would make the announcement so late. Before leaving, young John Park looked him over and made a sarcastic remark. He said Seo looked like he had just gotten wasted at some cheap bar. The guy sneered that he looked like a total slacker. He specifically called out Sumi, saying this was all for the good of the company. He hoped she knew how to work herself to the bone, and after that, her hands started to tremble. The senior employee turned around and saw Sung, each shaking in fear. After that, their whole team was talking about it during their break. Everyone knew that bastard deliberately picked on employees. Once, he singled out an employee and made him work overtime for a small mistake. Pac only managed to keep his job because of his connections, but they still kicked him to this crappy place. Kong Seo was angry that it was now his turn to be sidelined. On top of that, everyone noticed that Sung, he had completely broken down. Kong Seo just blocked out their chatter and started thinking about what to have for dinner. That night, he rushed home to see his girl. He was stunned by the mountain of dishes. Seo snuggled up to Haru and complained that his new boss was always targeting him. She tried to comfort him and wished him a good night's sleep. She gently stroked his head, which brought a smile to his face. Despite the calm atmosphere, she couldn't fall asleep until much later. The girl waited until he was asleep and secretly took his phone. She saw that all their text messages were strictly business-related. There were no issues between them, but she still felt scared. She wanted to pretend that slip-up didn't matter, but she couldn't. Sometimes this torturous anxiety would fade, but not always. In the end, feeling guilty for prying, she put the phone down. She tried to tell herself there was no problem, but she just couldn't let it go. The next morning, Kong Seo was woken up by some strange sounds. He shot up and saw that the other side of the bed was empty. The man rushed to the bathroom, where Haru was. He saw the girl kneeling by the toilet, looking like she had eaten too much. She thought that was why she felt nauseous and had a splitting headache. Seo offered to get some medicine, but she refused. Haru said she would go back to sleep after brushing her teeth, as she was already feeling a bit better. Kong Seo thoughtfully put toothpaste on her toothbrush and told her to open her mouth. She wanted to do it herself, but he insisted on helping. The man carefully brushed her teeth for her, as if taking care of a small child. Afterward, he asked if she thought she could walk back to bed. Haru was about to say she could, but he just swept her up in his arms. She found it very strange that he had suddenly become so protective. She tried to get him to explain, but he just laughed it off. Before answering, Kong Seo looked away and saw his phone. Haru asked him to let her go again, but he just kissed her. Afterward, he smiled gently, as if to show that everything was fine. In that moment, she realized she should have put the phone back before morning. Kong Seo had noticed that she was reading his messages every night. He tried to deny it had happened, pretending not to remember anything. Even so, he didn't want to bring up the whole thing now. For him, the only thing that mattered now was keeping this delicate balance from breaking. After that, he walked into the office to greet his boss. The short man immediately locked onto Kong Seo. He told him to come into the conference room for a moment, saying he had something to tell him. Kong Seo really wasn't sure what he could say to this guy. The manager asked why the sales of the stores he was in charge of were a total mess. He didn't buy Kong Seo's excuse of only having been on the job for a month. When he saw the sarcastic look on Seo's face, he exploded. The manager said Seo was acting as if he were being reprimanded for no reason. He sneered and asked if he felt he was being wronged. The despicable man was blatantly picking a fight, trying to provoke him. After what felt like an eternity, Kong Seo finally went out for a break. He was stunned that his boss had wasted an hour on that pile of nonsense. He was about to lose his temper, but the cost of the wedding kept him in check. Kong Seo had dealt with a lot of crap, but this was too much. He put down his cigarette and decided to text Sung-e. The man announced that from now on, all orders would be handled through the company messenger. He used to hate the idea, but now he saw the benefits. Meanwhile, Haru was talking about work with Yerim during their break. She pointed out that the girl now had no problem handling most tasks. Haru smiled and said that soon she wouldn't need her approval. Yerim was very excited that she was finally getting the hang of it. Afterward, Haru decided to ask her a question about the past. She asked Yerim if she had discussed her boyfriend's cheating with anyone. Yerim's face darkened, and she said she wasn't that ignorant or naive. Her reaction was so over the top and comical that Haru couldn't help but laugh out loud. After that, they decided to get back to work. As soon as they returned to the office, they heard someone shouting. A woman was yelling at an employee, demanding her colleague be brought to her. The moment they arrived, she immediately walked toward the girls. The woman quickly slapped Yerim across the face in front of everyone. It happened so fast that Haru didn't even have time to react. The other colleagues were also stunned to see this. The slap was so hard that Yerim fell straight to the floor. The woman announced she wasn't doing this because of some stupid misunderstanding. She added that her colleague was stealing men from other people's families. Haru was instantly reminded of all her anxiety about her own boyfriend cheating. Because of this, she immediately realized there was another side to the story. The woman rushed at Yerim again, asking if she recognized her. She said she had noticed her husband was cheating a long time ago. Now she added that she wouldn't put up with it anymore and was filing for divorce. The betrayed woman stumbled toward the exit, saying their little affair wouldn't last long. The boss rushed out of his office, saying he could explain everything. He tried to tell her it wasn't what it looked like, but she just walked away. The team immediately started gossiping about the mess. They soon found out that the woman wasn't the supervisor's wife. They remembered she was actually Manager Huang's wife. Haru silently watched the humiliated girl sitting on the floor. It turned out Yerim was not only seeing the supervisor, but also Manager Huang. Now that everything was out in the open, they understood what was going on. One of the nasty colleagues said she probably liked older men because she had a daddy complex. His amateur psychological analysis was simply disgusting. Haru told him to shut up, reminding him that his own wife was about to dump him. She hinted at his drinking problem and said no one would want to touch him. The guy was completely crushed by this brutal honesty. He tried to fight back, saying she was almost 32 and her biological clock was ticking. During the break, her boss told her she had crossed a line. She had never let herself lose control before, but now she had taken a risk. He could tell something was bothering Haru and wanted to ask about it. Haru just said that his behavior was upsetting her. He had a whole list of disgusting flaws. In the end, they came back to the fact that Haru might face some consequences. They both knew Yerim wouldn't be fired because of the situation at the company. Now, they had to make sure she didn't quit on her own. After that, the girl left and was told to come back after the boss came out. After a few more hours, the day was finally over. Haru walked home in the rain, wondering why she had done that. She remembered her own pain and realized she shouldn't have stood up for Yerim. It seemed even she couldn't figure out why she did it. She was so lost in thought that she didn't feel the hand. The next moment, Haru flinched and saw a familiar smile. Kong Seo looked at the girl and asked if she had been waiting long. He immediately blamed himself for leaving the umbrella at the office. The girl really wanted to forgive him, even though she knew it wouldn't be easy. They walked a few yards and decided to take shelter from the rain in a coffee shop. Kong Seo was happy he managed to grab a spot for them. Haru looked around and spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Mr. Jaehyun immediately smiled when he saw Haru. He pointed out that they were all there for a bite after work. He explained that he was supposed to have a meeting, but got canceled. Jaehyun awkwardly said it felt weird eating alone, so he was about to leave. They ended up feeling sorry for him and invited him to join them. So in conversation, he found out they had been dating for a full 10 years. The guy was clearly shocked they had been together for so long. He also mentioned he had been in a relationship before, but it ended. He explained why, saying he wasn't actually that sad about it. Jaehyun decided to ask about wedding plans, but their answers didn't match. When he said he wanted to get married next year, Haru flinched. Unlike him, she said they had no plans to get married anytime soon. Moon Jaehyun saw their conflicting signals and felt a bit awkward. After that awkward moment, the table fell completely silent. Jaehyun quickly changed the subject and brought up the scandal. This immediately piqued Kong Seo's interest, but Haru didn't know what to say. It was awkward to talk about cheating with the person who had done it. Right there, she ended up just acting as if the rumors were exaggerated. Jaehyun decided to ask if her leg was okay after what happened last time. When he asked if she had gotten those shoes fixed, she immediately started coughing. Haru tried to send Seo away to get her a glass of water. Afterward, she asked him not to mention the shoes in front of her boyfriend. She awkwardly looked away. After he asked why, the girl remembered when he gave her those shoes about 3 3 years ago. He had bought them with his first paycheck because he thought she would like them. Haru didn't think it made sense to spend so much money, but she agreed to try them on. He put them on for her himself to see if they fit. The guy grinned and said they looked amazing on her. She hated heels, but his excited expression made her put up with it. After trying them on, she walked a long way in the park. Kong Seo kept praising himself for giving her such a great gift, endlessly bragging about his good taste in picking shoes. He talked about it all evening, completely unaware of how uncomfortable she was. You should have seen his face when she finally told him she hated the shoes. She was furious that he had made her walk in those shoes all day. On top of that, he had been showing them off all day, completely failing to notice her injuries. He got upset and said she should have told him she was uncomfortable. Kong Seo said he couldn't read her mind and didn't know she was in pain. She got angry, saying he always gave her things she never asked for. In the end, their happy date turned into a full-blown argument. After that, she threw one of the shoes at him, saying she would never wear them again. They made up soon after that, but still completely forgot about the shoes. She knew Seo would be shocked to find out she had been wearing them recently. Moon Jae-hyun said that reason was actually pretty flimsy. Just then, Kong Seo appeared with a glass of water. He turned to the girl and asked if she was feeling better. She thanked him and said she was fine now. Moon Jae-hyun smiled at them and asked Seo where he bought those shoes. He wiped the girl's face and guessed he bought them at the mall. His buddies said they looked comfortable, so he was thinking of getting a pair too. Right after, Seo walked away to take a call from his boss. Haru huffily asked him if he brought it up on purpose. She told him he shouldn't have mentioned that, and then he gave a smirk as if he knew something. To her surprise, he said he was just a little annoyed. That was all. Then Moon Jae-hyun calmly took a sip of his cold water. Meanwhile, Kong Seo went outside to talk to that idiot. He sighed, exhausted, and promised himself he would deal with this tomorrow. After that, he glanced at his girl and his old buddy. He had been grilling her about how she went out in those broken shoes. It seemed Kong Seo wasn't too happy watching them have such a fun chat. After that, since the rain wasn't stopping, they went home. Haru was surprised her boyfriend decided to go to bed early. He patted her head and said he had to go to work early the next morning because of his boss. The man said he didn't want to go, but he had to. Haru gave him a suspicious look, as if suspecting something was wrong. Kong Seo was about to say something, but immediately thought better of it. He turned away as soon as she mentioned Jaehyun's name. In the end, he just silently agreed with her. Haru pointed out that she couldn't talk about a wedding in front of someone who had called off their engagement. This gave him hope, as he had been worried about her answer. He casually said it was natural for her not to have wedding plans. The girl smiled and told him not to be shy. She caressed his lips, saying they were trying to fix their relationship. Kong Seo fell silent, then slowly ran his tongue over her finger. He suddenly bit her finger and asked when she and Jaehyun had gotten so close. Haru hesitated and asked him to be clear. The guy bit her hand again, saying he felt like there was some kind of connection between them. As soon as she said they weren't close, he was licking her finger again. He asked what they were talking about, making her blush. Haru realized she was tired of keeping it all inside. Finally, she asked if he remembered the shoes he gave her. Kong Seo barely managed to hold back a laugh. Haru decided to lay down the law right then and there and let him know the consequences. He still wanted to know why she had decided to wear those shoes. The man froze after she mentioned his colleague, Sung-i. She said she thought her shoes looked good on her, so she decided to wear them. But since she wasn't used to them, she ended up breaking the shoes. She wanted to get them fixed, but he just told her to throw them away. The man said thoughtfully that it was his fault for making her feel pressured because of Sung-i. He pulled her closer, adding that he was sorry for hurting her. Kong Seo honestly admitted that all he felt about those shoes was guilt. Even so, Haru still felt it was a waste to throw them away. Kong Seo kissed her shoulder and offered to buy her a new pair. In that moment, Haru realized he had been living with guilt. She decided to grant his wish and promised to throw them away. She kissed him gently and said she was fine now. Haru asked if they could go pick out shoes together next time. Kong Seo agreed to her request and held her tightly. After that, they comforted each other with their love for a long time. Haru opened her eyes as sunlight streamed into the room. She glanced at the alarm clock and realized she had woken up earlier than expected. The girl struggled to prop herself up on her elbows, feeling a dull ache. As soon as she felt the muscle soreness, the scenes from last night flooded her mind. They were overcome with such intense passion, as if they were back in their 20s. They shared warmth and affection until the morning came. She silently blushed hoping the neighbors hadn't heard anything. The girl turned over and found a note on the pillow next to her. The man had written that he left a sandwich for her in the fridge and that he didn't want to go to work. Just his thoughtfulness brought a happy smile to her face. Haru felt she was slowly but surely getting better. Meanwhile, Kong Seo dragged his feet to the office despite it being his day off. He realized that yesterday was the first time Haru had truly opened up about her feelings. This made him happy, but the guilt he felt wouldn't go away. He looked around and noticed their team leader's seat was empty. All the crap that little bastard had pulled immediately came to his mind. He was ready to tear him apart for every time he had tried to mock or belittle him. The next second, he jumped, not expecting to see anyone at all. Standing in front of him was a stunned Sung-E, who had also returned to the office for some reason. The girl awkwardly explained that she had come back to the office to get something. On top of that, she decided to ask if he had seen her thermos and mug. Sung-E awkwardly lowered her head, trying to get a firm grip on the bottles and jars in her hands. She tried to leave, but a perfume bottle accidentally slipped from her hands and shattered. The girl immediately tried to pick up the pieces and apologized. Kong Seo couldn't figure out why she was looking for her things on the boss's desk. After a while, he could finally go home. Haru rushed to happily greet the man who hadn't had dinner yet. He hugged her and complained about having to work on his day off. Haru felt a hint of suspicion and asked why he was so late. He had originally said it would only take a little while in the morning. Kong Seo fell silent, not knowing what to tell her. He said he had to go to a news store to display their products. He was covering for another employee who couldn't go. Seo smiled and even showed her a picture of everything he had set up. He thought this would be enough to quell her suspicions. Haru smiled calmly and didn't mention the scent of perfume she had smelled. After the weekend, Yerim came back to work and greeted everyone. She tried to start a casual conversation, but no one paid her any attention. She quickly made a work-related excuse and hurried away. Her colleagues immediately started gossiping about why she hadn't been fired. Yerim left the office and greeted acting manager Haru. She decided to ask her how her weekend was. In the end, she decided to clear the air about the whole thing during their break. Haru used to think she understood her, but it turned out she herself had been on the other side of things. To the fact that she didn't end up quitting after that whole fiasco, the girl coolly replied, "That's good." Yerim suddenly asked if they could go for a drink sometime. Haru was stunned by the girl's wild suggestion, but in the end, she actually agreed to go to a bar with her. Yerim was very excited to go out, as she hadn't had a drink in a long time. She wanted Haru to drink with her, but Haru was not receptive. Yerim guessed that she had many questions and offered to answer them. Haru said it felt strange to be here and wanted to shorten the meeting. She was getting more and more annoyed that Yaren was wasting her time. Finally, she dropped a bombshell. She had been seeing the supervisor and the department head at the same time. Yaren asked if she cared why she did it. She knew it looked like a woman messing around with two married men at the same time. The moment she heard that, the smile on her face vanished. Then, without warning, she jumped up and chugged an entire bottle of alcohol. She slammed the bottle on the table and said she wasn't always like this. The girl gave an innocent smile and added that she just slowly turned into trash. She started listing all the reasons, then dropped the bombshell about not having a father. Yaren listened to her story and sarcastically remarked that she didn't know what it was like to see her own father with another woman. The drunk girl kept calling herself a monster who deserved to be punished. Suddenly, she burst into tears, saying she knew she had messed up. The girl said she felt so ashamed this time and just wanted to disappear. Being berated in front of her boss was humiliating. For some reason, she kept worrying about what her boss would think of her. She admitted that she had started to distance herself from everyone. After listening to Haru, she apologized, knowing she had let her down. Haru simply told her she should apologize to the boss's wife. They both knew that an apology wouldn't get her out of trouble. Even so, Haru insisted it would help turn things around for her when she got home. After that conversation, she kept replaying the whole thing in her mind. She decided to leave and said she would pay for the drinks. Yaren suddenly asked if she was planning to get back with her boyfriend. She said she wanted to repay her for her help by offering some advice. She said that even after their wives found out, the men were still contacting her. Yaren smiled bitterly, thinking that he would start being nicer to her, acting all sweet and stuff. It was these words that kept Haru from sleeping for a long time. She didn't know if Seo would become like those men. She was still walking on eggshells, but things were slowly getting better. She kept hoping that she hadn't made a mistake. She truly hoped Kong Seo would prove her right. After a while, the girl opened her eyes, surprised. She vaguely remembered coming to the living room to get her laptop. Haru had come out to look something up, but ended up falling asleep. The girl heard some strange noises from the next room. She quietly pushed the door ajar and saw two people making out. The girl confronted her boyfriend, asking what the hell he was doing. Her heart pounded at the scene unfolding before her. She begged him to stop, but he kept kissing her all over. It was as if he was deliberately trying to make her break down, which caused her immense pain. She clenched her fists, but her body trembled even more. She barely managed to scream for him to stop. To her surprise, Kong Seo actually stopped and gave a cold smirk. He turned to Young-hae Ryu and asked if she really thought he loved her. The man stepped forward and said he didn't stay out of pity. He grabbed her face and told her that her self-worth had hit rock bottom, and even her family had given up on her. Seo mockingly asked how she could still cling to that bit of pride. He looked straight at her and said he just couldn't stand seeing her like this. The man was deliberately provoking her, trying to make her break down. Immediately after, Haru's eyes flew open, as if waking from a nightmare. She sat up straight, realizing it was all just a dream. Haru turned her head and saw her boyfriend snoring peacefully beside her. She tried to calm her breathing, telling herself it was just a nightmare. She lost her mind and, in some kind of trance, started strangling him. It all happened so fast, she couldn't even think straight. Ever since then, she always had a lingering, strange feeling. Kong Seo could be so charming, and she didn't know how to handle it. At some point, she realized she sometimes felt extreme anger towards him. She thought over and over again whether he treated Sun the same way. Her mind kept replaying scenes she hadn't even witnessed. Her emotions swung wildly like a pendulum. She felt nauseous and wanted to throw up again and again. Even so, she chose only him like a madwoman and could only love him. Haru muttered to herself that it was no big deal. She mumbled that she shouldn't worry. Then she screamed that she forgave him. The next second, she snapped back to reality and realized what she was doing. This finally made her jump away and release his neck. The girl collapsed, noticing the deep red marks on his neck. She struggled to breathe, as if trapped in some crazy dream. A few hours later, Kong Seo got up and started getting ready for work. He noticed his lotion bottle was empty. He was about to ask the girl for some, but then he saw the marks on his own neck. Haru froze awkwardly, waiting for his reaction. She decided to ask if his neck was okay, but he acted as if he didn't know what she was talking about. Kong Seo tried to play dumb, saying he must have scratched himself in his sleep. He even spouted some nonsense about winter mosquitoes. After a moment, he got ready for work as if nothing had happened. Haru was surprised he was leaving so early. She started to get suspicious because he had never left this early before. She questioned him so harshly that even someone as calm as him was startled. Haru didn't immediately realize how harsh her tone was. She then apologized and accepted that this was how things were supposed to be. She was in a daze, wondering what was wrong with her. Then, Kong Seo pulled out his phone and showed her the screen. It was then that she saw the nasty text messages from his boss. He explained that he just didn't want to get into trouble. The guy patted her head and wished her a good day at work. After that, he hurried out, slamming the door behind him. The girl sighed and tidied her messy hair. Meanwhile, Kong Seo froze at the door and touched his neck. He overheard the girl, feeling relieved that he didn't suspect anything. After some time, the girl finally arrived at the office. She almost immediately ran into the infamous Yaren. Yaren gave a tired smile and suggested another round of drinks. She hoped a few drinks tonight would make the atmosphere between them less awkward. That night, they got together and talked about the latest gossip. It turned out Yaren had actually found the wife and apologized. Haru thought she was completely right in not being able to forgive Yaren. Despite being hit with a handbag by the other party, the girl felt better afterwards. She had heard rumors that no one had ever apologized for what happened. Yaren herself wasn't keen on apologizing for what had happened. She felt that Haru hated her, just as she hated the woman he had an affair with. Haru admitted that her boyfriend was the type of man every girl wanted. She knew it was only a matter of time before someone like that appeared. She hated the guy who crossed the line and embarrassed her. She felt that if she had done a little more from the beginning, she might have been able to turn things around. Haru knew she might have made him wait too long. She said that's why she wasn't angry, just frustrated. Haru said that seeing the effort she was making made her feel like her boyfriend was also making an effort. Yaren laughed, hoping their relationship would get better. She agreed and decided to toast to that hope. Besides, after that mess, Yaren had cut ties with her boss. After a while, they finally decided to go home. Yarn wanted to continue, but they both had work tomorrow. She said goodbye, promising to come back refreshed tomorrow. The girl leaned out the window and shouted that she loved Haru. For the first time all day, Haru felt so exhausted. A strange heaviness washed over her, and she hadn't had a drop of alcohol. She admitted to herself that she just wanted someone to pick her up. She stepped back from the curb and called her boyfriend to ask him to pick her up as she had drunk too much. He apologized, saying he couldn't get away. He was at Young Hyun's grandmother's funeral. Haru told him not to worry. She could handle it herself. After that, they agreed to talk later and said their goodbyes. Haru felt ashamed for complaining to him about her situation. She knew it was nothing, but she still felt a strange anger welling up inside her. The girl felt a strange confusion wash over her, as if he had no right to refuse her request. Meanwhile, Kang Seo was at the funeral helping his colleague. The guy thanked him for coming to help. He clearly hadn't expected so many people to come to the funeral. His grandmother had raised him all by herself, and he thought she had no relatives left. He regretted not taking better care of her while she was still alive. Kang Seo patted his shoulder, trying to offer some support. The guy decided to ask if he had spoken to Haru a few minutes ago. He had noticed their strange reaction and wanted to know if everything was okay. As soon as he mentioned it, the dude's face fell. He couldn't take it anymore and told his old buddy the whole story. He was shocked that Kang Seo would do something like that. The guy wanted to know exactly what Seo planned to do about it. Seo looked away, lost in thought, remembering what happened that night. He had used all his strength to pretend to be asleep, feeling her hands choking his neck. He was terrified but tried hard not to give himself away. He explained that they were still together and he was terrified of losing her. It seemed his friend's reaction only annoyed him more. He couldn't believe he had actually fallen for Haru. Suddenly, the guy remembered that freshman girl. She acted like a normal friend, but was actually all over Kang Seo. He remembered how they were hanging out with their classmates back then. That night 8 years ago, everyone was surprised and talking about Seo's time in the military. Even though it was a long time ago, they still thought the guy was amazing. At some point, the whole group went quiet. They decided to go out for some fresh air and a smoke. The guy was shocked that their classmate would even talk about that topic. He kept digging, trying to pry into their scandalous private life. This was her first time seeing Haru in years, yet she was already calling her a friend. Haru slammed the table, saying she waited for him to come back because she wanted to. She asked if she thought a person was only good for that. It seemed that Haru had just shut the nosy girl up. She jumped up and said her words were all bullshit. The guy tried to stop her, but she made it clear she was leaving. He thought it was hilarious how she walked away after being rejected. When he glanced at Haru, the smile vanished from his face, and you could tell she was trying her best to stay calm. He looked closer and saw that her hands were shaking. Kang Seo was surprised that someone as shy as her would go that far. That's why his buddy felt that Haru cared for him far more than he thought. For the first time, Kang Seo thought about how much she had done for him. Even though she would complain and get angry, she would always give in to him. His friend mentioned that she had cut off contact with her family, just like him. He warned him not to assume she was okay, just because she acted brave. Kang Seo realized once again that they just didn't know how to be with each other. Later, he got home and found her passed out. He tried to get undressed quietly, but she woke up anyway. She confessed that she couldn't sleep at all after drinking. Kang Seo touched her flushed face and felt the heat. He called her cute and kissed her, then decided to take a shower. After that, he gently closed the door, leaving her alone. She was frozen in the middle of the bed, staring at his personal phone. After a while, Kang Seo came back to the room and saw she was still awake. He had just reached the bed when she pinned him against the wall and punched the wall next to his head. The screen even cracked from the force she used. She demanded to know why he deleted his chat history with Sun Hee. At that moment, he knew her fragile trust was broken again. He asked in confusion what she was doing, feeling that fear creep back in. He explained that he only talked to her through the company messenger. She guessed he knew about these phone checks. The girl thought he might have deleted all the conversations that could cause trouble. He said he let her do it to give her peace of mind. He saw her vomiting in the middle of the night and knew it was tormenting her mentally. He admitted he had never really talked to her from the heart before. Haru asked him why there were no texts from Young Hyun if he was at a funeral. The girl refused to believe his words, even though they were true. She looked him straight in the eye with a crazed look and said he was good at lying. Kang Seo knew she was trying to provoke him and struggled to stay calm. He told her to call Young Hyun herself and offered to show her all his messages. Even so, Haru was getting more and more consumed by those emotions. She said his rehearsed answers angered her, as if he already knew what she was going to say. The girl screamed, accusing him of not suffering as much as she was. She threw the phone away and said he was the one who messed up, but she was the one who felt guilty. Haru felt it was ridiculous that she felt guilty for starting to hate him. She pounded on his chest, asking who on earth she was supposed to blame after all this. Kong Seo grabbed her hands and told her to calm down first. She collapsed, saying this was all much more painful than he could imagine. The thought of him with someone else was tearing her apart. Haru demanded that he be honest with her. Did he feel sorry for what happened at all? She was sure he just didn't want to be the bad guy in this whole thing. The guy snapped, asking her to just say it. What did she really want? The girl broke down crying, saying she didn't even know anymore. She violently pulled away, her nails scratching his cheek. Haru was completely terrified and said she wished he would disappear. The next morning, after that chaotic mess, she barely managed to wake up. She was already exhausted before she even fully opened her eyes. Haru wanted to ask him the time, but realized he wasn't there. It was as if she had managed to forget what she had done overnight. The next second, she remembered the whole horrible thing that had happened. These sudden outbursts of anger were really starting to scare her. She jumped out of bed, unable to believe she had lost control like that. Haru tried calling Seo, but he didn't pick up. She nervously bit her fingers, hoping the phone was okay. The look on his face explained why she always let him get away with everything. Now she knew she shouldn't have put up with it all this time. With every passing second, the anxiety inside her grew. She had to stay calm no matter what, but she still blew up at him. Meanwhile, Kong Seo was already getting chewed out by his boss. He decided that Seo wasn't doing his job because sales were down. Park smirked, trying to make him feel inadequate. He slapped his chest with a piece of paper, saying the company was losing money. He left, saying the team's poor performance would be blamed on Seo. Kong Seo just stood there, feeling a huge emptiness spread inside him. He saw him being ostracized, but could do nothing. The damn workday finally dragged to an end. Seo's colleagues tried to support him, as they knew he was innocent. The guy said he wouldn't quit, and then they dispersed. Kong Seo wandered aimlessly through the city, lost in his thoughts. He almost reached the subway station, but then he stopped. He suddenly remembered he needed to catch the bus. He squeezed his eyes shut, feeling the anxiety build up. He thought he could handle it all, but every day was becoming more and more exhausting. He was so tired that nothing around him mattered anymore. The guy was completely lost in his own thoughts until he heard a familiar voice. Haru was standing right in front of him, looking at him with a concerned expression. Now he was wondering if it was even worth trying anymore. She was about to apologize for last night, but he cut her off immediately. He couldn't help but remember the conversation with his buddy about his grandmother. He asked her if she knew why she took him in after his parents divorced. She believed that a person with nothing to lean on would turn into a real monster. Now he realized that he really felt like a useless piece of trash. He used to hope they wouldn't break up, but now he just wished they would, just disappear. This was exactly why he understood Haru. After he cheated, he was determined not to try and fix the relationship. That night, his buddy told him to let her go before he ruined everything. He suddenly dropped the bombshell, saying they needed to take a break. She flinched, asking if it was about what happened yesterday. She held his hand, trying to apologize for what she had said. She admitted she just broke down and started talking nonsense. Haru broke down, saying she should have talked to him from the start. She realized she hadn't even considered how upset he must have been. After a pause, he said she could doubt him all she wanted. He didn't care. He pulled his hand away, saying he couldn't stand hurting her anymore. No matter how hard he tried, it felt like the problem couldn't be solved. It was then that Haru realized she was facing her fears head-on. Her intuition told her that he knew what she had done that night. Terrified, she blurted out that she had lost it because of a nightmare. She was ready to beg him to forgive her and forget everything she had said. Haru sobbed, repeating that she could change. She really could. She reminded him that he had promised to always be by her side. She couldn't understand how he could say something so cruel. She stared into his eyes, almost begging him not to leave her. Kong Seo felt something deep inside him start to crack. He admitted he was wrong to think things would magically fix themselves. The guy asked her to give him some time to clear his head. He hoped she could also find a less painful way to deal with this. The girl cried even harder, but she still nodded in response. No matter how stubborn she was, what was broken couldn't be fixed. 2 weeks later, things started to feel a bit different. Supervisor Park gave him a hard time every day, nitpicking at the stupidest things. He pushed SEO to do the impossible, demanding he complete some crazy tasks. Park smirked, suggesting he become the company's poster boy. He added that he could still get along well with the girls. You could tell from the way he spoke how prejudiced he was and how much he hated the guy. Park insisted that he finish the work this month instead of the next. With every word he spoke, the tension inside Sun he grew. All the employees were shocked by his ridiculous orders. They thought he would calm down, but his demands only got crazier. He looked as furious as if someone had stolen his girlfriend. The senior employees noticed that SEO had even added content to the meeting materials. They were stunned by the extra work he had to do. Kong SEO was too tired to even talk about the scumbag. He told them to go on ahead, deciding to stay a little longer. It was then that he suddenly realized he had always thought Haru couldn't survive on her own, and that's what was holding him back. He decided they needed to become independent of each other. The guy knew their biggest fear was breaking up. Even as she shed tears, he knew how crucial it was not to hinder this process. He still didn't have a clear answer and suspected he was messing everything up. At the end of the day, he felt that he missed her terribly. He didn't immediately realize that Sun, he was standing right there. She confessed that she had something to tell him. When she said it wasn't about work, he refused her. He reminded her that he wasn't interested in talking to her about personal matters. She tried to convince him, but he just wouldn't budge. She burst out, asking if she really disgusted him that much. She was stunned when he admitted he was angry with himself. He added that seeing her every time reminded him of that day. Even though he was dead drunk, he admitted it was all his fault. He finally apologized for losing control and spilling everything. Sun, he asked him to slow down, asking why he was so angry. She was stunned when he reminded her that they, crossed the line and he had cheated on his girlfriend. He couldn't believe his ears when she said nothing had happened between them. It sounded so crazy that it caught him off guard. She asked in shock if that's what he had been thinking all this time. She covered her face in shame, realizing he had no memory of that day at all. That day, after a wild drinking session, she had been trying to stuff her colleagues into a taxi. She barely managed to drag their manager into the car. Sun, he told the driver the address and asked him to drop him off. After that, she slammed the door shut and watched the car drive away. She was exhausted from taking care of all of them. She turned around and realized there was still one more colleague who was dead drunk. The girls suddenly recalled the question she had asked at the company dinner. She had no idea how to talk to him after confessing her feelings. In hindsight, she felt she should have just kept her mouth shut. It felt weird talking to him, so she just stood there in silence for a while. She walked up and told him she had already called a taxi for him. She tried to ask for his address, but even he couldn't remember it. Then he suddenly said he had to go home and took off running. Sun, he knew he was wasted and that it wouldn't end well. She was worried he might pass out on his way home and get into an accident. She grabbed his arm and said, "Dude, you don't even know where you are right now." Sun, he told him he shouldn't go there, but he kept refusing. He even tried to push her away to escape. You can imagine her surprise when she saw him fall flat on his face. Kong SEO had fallen right on a pile of trash covered in snow. She thought he was hurt, but he started laughing like a maniac. He cheerfully asked how he got there, as if he had completely blacked out. It was then that Sun, he just stared at him, cursing him for being so damn handsome. She told him to get up, saying the taxi would be there soon. Eventually, she actually managed to get the damn car to show up. But to her frustration, the driver refused to take them because they smelled like garbage. The girl saw that he had torn the trash bags. She offered to pay more, but the driver wouldn't budge. He told her that if she wanted a ride, she had to clean up her boyfriend first. Watching the snow fall harder, Sun, he felt helpless. In the end, she had to take him to a hotel herself. She managed to get him to sit on the floor, and she could feel her whole body trembling. The driver was right because she couldn't get a single taxi after that. She tried to snatch his phone to call Haru, but he wouldn't let go for dear life. Sun, he blushed, realizing she had to help him change his clothes. She said his clothes needed to be washed, but he was already dead drunk. Because of all this, she had no idea what to do with the drunkard. She didn't know whether to leave him in the cold bathroom or help him to bed. In the end, she decided to take off his smelly clothes. She apologized to the passed-out man and then pulled off his shirt. After a while, she finally managed to get his clothes off. Immediately after, her tired eyes locked onto his well-defined body. Looking at that perfect physique, she felt like she was about to spontaneously combust from embarrassment. He then remembered that he had been with his girlfriend for 10 years. She gritted her teeth and told herself not to have any improper thoughts. The girl braced herself and started washing his shirt. After a while, she managed to wash it until it was like new. Now she just needed to dry the shirt as quickly as possible. She glanced at the freezing guy and thought she should help him into bed. He covered herself and told him he was grabbing the blanket. She felt he was cold and decided to help cover him with the blanket. The moment she reached out, he grabbed her hand without hesitation. Before he could react, she fell completely. Seo pulled her onto his lap, his arm wrapping around her waist. The girl instantly blushed from their proximity. She was startled when he squeezed her hand and called her Haru. The feeling of her heart racing disappeared when he proposed they get married next year. He just smiled peacefully and said he really loved her. He leaned in to kiss her, completely unaware that the person in front of him was actually He. She knew that if she kept sitting there, things would soon get out of hand. Although a part of her was drawn in, she had to draw the line. He realized she needed to push him away as soon as possible. The thought screamed in her mind, but the impulse grew stronger and stronger. Then, the man suddenly froze like a statue. The girl was startled and jumped back, realizing he was actually awake. He frowned and said clearly that she was not Haru. He scrambled off the bed, apologizing profusely. The man barely managed to cover himself with a blanket, saying she had scared him to death. Then, as if nothing had happened, he rolled over and fell asleep again. He was completely numb, trying to process how quickly it all happened. In the end, she took another blanket and covered him with it. She wiped the sweat from her forehead, exhaustedly realizing it was finally over. After that night, she felt a suffocating weight all over her body. She thought of his crumpled clothes on the floor and turned on the heater, hoping they would be dry by morning. Her own clothes were still a bit damp, but she had no choice. She checked her phone and saw many missed calls from home. He was prepared for a scolding when she got home. She knew she had to leave before she got any more tired. She absolutely could not let herself fall asleep next to him. She sat beside him for a minute, staring at his eyelashes. He couldn't believe someone could be so perfect. She also couldn't help but think about how beautiful Haru was. In her mind, she called Haru a tall, cat-like beauty. She was jealous of the maturity Haru had shown at the time. Even when he was dead drunk, Seo only had his girlfriend on his mind. He just wanted to be loved by a man as wonderful as him. In the end, she couldn't resist the temptation and drowsily fell asleep. You can imagine her surprise when she woke up the next morning. She couldn't figure out why the room was so bright. He shot out of bed, realizing she had overslept. She hoped her boss was still asleep so she could explain. Unfortunately, she saw that the other side of the bed was already empty. She had been hoping he would remember what they talked about. Now she understood why he had misunderstood everything. Seo was so shocked by what he heard that he almost collapsed. He was thankful he hadn't cheated on Haru. She told him he should have just asked to avoid all this confusion. He turned bright red with shame and apologized for what had happened. The girl said it was okay, and then he decided to leave. Before he left, he remembered that she seemed to have something to tell him. At the thought of it, he started to tremble. She realized now was not the time to tell him the truth. Seo was confused by her sudden change and decided to leave. On his way home, he kept trying to contact Haru. He dialed her number over and over, but only got a busy signal. As soon as he got a reply, he said he had something important to tell her. She said she had something to tell him too. They ended up agreeing to meet at a cafe. He had a bad feeling, but decided to meet as planned to talk. They met at 8 in the evening, and the cafe's bright space created a cozy atmosphere. She said it had only been 2 weeks, which wasn't really that long. Seo thought to himself that things didn't seem as bad as he had feared. He knew his proposal might sound sudden, but he couldn't keep it inside any longer. At that moment, he had no idea what she was about to say next. The girl said bluntly that she had slept with Moon Jae-hyun after Seo started ignoring her calls. He showed up at her house every night. At first, it was always after 3 a.m. Then he started showing up a little earlier, and then later again. He slowly noticed the lights going out earlier and earlier. He felt good, thinking she was finally starting to take care of herself. The guy thought she would be ready to accept his feelings at any moment. All his dreams were shattered when he heard what she had done. He couldn't believe it and completely broke down. He thought he had misheard because the music was too loud. When she said it again, something inside him broke. She repeated what she had done with his classmate. Hearing that she had slept with him again, he completely fell apart. With each repetition, he could feel the anger rushing through his veins. He accidentally knocked over his coffee, spilling it all over the table. The hot coffee scalded his fingers, but he didn't even flinch. Haru said that no matter how many times he asked, the answer wouldn't change. Seo thought she was lying because she hated his guts. He said he didn't come here to continue their fight. The man asked if they could get back together, but she just remained silent. He practically yelled as he asked her why she did it. The girl just replied coldly that she did exactly what he told her to do. She reminded him that he was the one who told her to find a way to make herself less miserable. He trembled with anger, saying she did it on purpose, knowing how he would react. Haru replied that he would soon understand why she did it. He was shocked that she thought he was faking his pain. Now he realized how vicious her words could be just to get back at him. He forced a smile as tears streamed down his cheeks, saying he could feel the pain too. After that, he understood that was all she wanted to say. He gave a sly smirk and let the tears fall. He accepted her answer and suggested they talk another day. Seo fled from there, knowing she wouldn't listen to him anyway. The man turned around and calmly told her he was leaving. As a last-ditch effort, he suggested they talk properly the next time they met. After a while, Haru finally walked out of the cafe. She felt exhausted after doing all that. The girl tried to shake off the feeling and started walking home. She took a few steps and stopped, feeling immense pressure. Her legs suddenly gave out, and she almost fell. She felt an emotional breakdown coming on and actually started to laugh. I don't understand how he can be so stubborn in denying the facts right in front of him. It didn't matter whether he was acting or not, because I had already made up my mind. It was then that I realized I had gone too far. My emotions have been unstable ever since we decided to take some time apart. Seeing the empty space on the bed sent a sharp pang through me. Seeing him made me regret everything I did and said. Haru replayed in her mind countless times how she could take it all back. She couldn't see a way out, so she decided to let things run their course. My cold, rational side told me there was only one way this could end. I knew that breaking up was the only answer. Haru knew her anger would forever grip her heart and haunt her. Even so, she realized her behavior was terrible. All she had left was regret, and there was nothing she could do about it. As time went on, it felt like the problem was getting worse and worse. She imagined Kong Seo being with her again, the person she despised. The girl stared blankly at the green light, as if snapping back to reality. She thought the light had just turned green and took a step forward. The moment she stepped onto the road, the light turned red. It wasn't until the last second that she realized she had walked into traffic. Before Haru could react, someone grabbed her by the waist and pulled her back. Immediately after, a car sped past. Her eyes widened in terror as she felt someone grab her. At first, she thought it was Seo who had saved her. But it wasn't. Moon Jae-hyun, panting, asked in surprise if she was okay. He told her to be more careful, or she would have been killed. The girl thanked him for saving her and said she had been distracted. Jae-hyun glanced at the time and noticed she was leaving early. He said she didn't look well and that he should take her home. The man explained that his car was parked in the same lot as hers. He admitted he parked there on purpose to avoid running into colleagues. Moon Jae-hyun said he didn't say hello because he didn't want to bother her. Haru didn't even know why she suddenly started crying. The moment he saw her tears, he panicked. She wiped her eyes and told him not to worry. She was even wondering herself why she had suddenly burst into tears. The man fell silent, seemingly thinking about something. He asked if she had time to do him a favor. Next, they arrived at a small, open-air cafe nearby. He mentioned he had a gift card for 2 coffees that he wanted to use. Moon Jae-hyun casually mentioned that he had been working overtime a lot recently. He smirked and asked if she thought all bankers got off work early. After some small talk, he cut to the chase and asked her why she was crying. He could see she wasn't physically sick, but something must be tormenting her mind. The girl gave him a cold look and said she didn't have to explain her private life to him. She felt she must have looked pathetic crying like that. Moon Jae-hyun just returned a gentle and considerate smile. From his expression alone, she could tell he felt embarrassed. She apologized for lashing out at him for no reason. Suddenly, he suggested she open up and talk about what was really going on. Jae-hyun asked if she remembered him mentioning his canceled engagement. He chose to lie that night because he had been dumped, plain and simple. He said with a bitter smile that he was in a much worse situation back then. He had been pretending everything was fine until her family introduced her to another man. Jae-hyun thought his world would end without her, but life went on. Haru couldn't believe he could talk about such a thing so casually. Moon Jae-hyun asked if she wanted to tell Kang Seo about it. She replied that she probably couldn't find a right time to bring it up. Jae-hyun said she didn't need to explain anything and that he just wanted to be by her side. He hoped that thinking of the once strong Haru would give her strength now. After their conversation, the girl decided to go back to her car. Moon Jae-hyun's words kept replaying in her mind. For a long time, the girl couldn't figure out why she felt even more anxious than before. She didn't know if he was playing the long game, waiting for her to get tired and let him go. At this point, she didn't even know what to make of him not calling her. Haru felt that he should be clinging to her, begging her to stay. He could never stand her, but he always desperately tried to keep her. The way he struggled to maintain the status quo always gave her hope and expectations. All these thoughts conflicted with the fact that he had ultimately decided to leave. She felt a surge of anger and immediately grabbed her phone. The girl tried calling the man again, but he didn't pick up. He simply refused to answer, saying it ruined the mood, claiming they both needed some time alone to clear their heads. Haru threw her phone onto the seat. Furious, she couldn't believe he would say something like that without any consideration for her feelings. She needed to know his true thoughts, but couldn't trust a single word he said. Haru felt like she was going crazy at this rate. A thought kept popping up. Even this time apart to cool off could be a load of crap. At that thought, she felt like she could actually kill him. The bottom line was she decided she had to see for herself what was going on. She found Sun-hee and wanted to ask her a pressing question. Seeing no reaction, she reached out and touched her shoulder. Sun-hee was startled and jumped away from Haru. Haru apologized for scaring her and asked if she remembered her. She couldn't talk to her at the office, so she decided to follow her. She wanted to clear things up and asked her to be honest. She paused for a moment and asked if she was currently dating Seo. Haru held her breath, saying she wanted to hear it from her directly. She asked again what her relationship with Seo was now. Seeing the other's silence, the girl became even more nervous. She collected her thoughts and said that they were indeed together. Hearing those words, Haru felt the world spin. She kept saying it was true, as if to hammer the fact into her head. Haru cut her off mid-sentence, grabbing her jacket to pull her closer. Just like that, she caught that familiar scent and decided to confirm her suspicions. The girl couldn't help but recall that night. A sense of dread washed over her when Seo came home late, as she realized it was the same scent from back then. Haru didn't even remember how she got back to her car. She chewed her nails like a madwoman, trying to contact Seo over and over again. All she heard was voicemail. Her panic escalated with each passing second. She finally broke, screaming as she threw her phone out the window. Unable to control herself, she began to wail in agony. The girl slumped over the steering wheel and frantically honked the horn, not caring how jarring the sound was. She completely broke down that night, filled with nothing but rage. She stayed in her car for a long time, sobbing and screaming in anger and pain. At some point, the storm passed, and she felt only a wave of emptiness. After that, she pulled herself together and managed to get home. She immediately jumped into a cold shower, trying to wash away all the filth from her body. Haru felt that Sun, he was like a flower that you couldn't help but notice. But even if you looked back, you would never see him again. She really thought Kang Seo would just walk right past. Haru kept saying she knew this would happen sooner or later. She broke down crying, saying she knew it would end like this. The girl had a gut feeling, but kept telling herself it wouldn't happen. She just stood there under the cold water with no idea what to do next. She had heard before that anger is like holding a burning piece of coal. That's why sometimes you just want to throw it at someone else. That night, she felt like she was holding a red-hot piece of coal in her hand. As Moon Jae-hyun walked by, he saw Haru looking completely broken. He couldn't figure out what she was doing near the office or why her hair was all wet. The man noticed she was shivering and remembered it hadn't been raining. He fell silent after she dropped the bombshell that Kang Seo was cheating. She immediately cut him off, saying his words wouldn't solve anything. She added that no matter how much time had passed, she wasn't getting any better. Haru said she had to do something about this awful feeling. She finally looked up and asked him to sleep with her just once. She felt like she needed to do something crazy. Haru explained that one meaningless night would be enough for her. He asked why, of all people, she chose him. She admitted she just thought of him and felt he would agree. She was honest with him, saying no one else even crossed her mind. The man clutched his bag and said he really liked her. He added that he truly found her beautiful and had been thinking about her. He hadn't stopped thinking about her since they first met. When Jae-hyun found out they worked in the same building, he was thrilled. He really wanted to hold her in his arms, but he couldn't do that. The man left, promising to pretend this never happened. She silently accepted the rejection and walked to the nearest store. Without a second thought, she grabbed a bottle of liquor. Haru paid without hesitation, just wanting to drown the awful feeling. She went outside and sat at a table next to the store. The girl stared thoughtfully at the bottle, a shiver running through her. She swiftly twisted off the cap. Haru chugged the entire bottle in one go. In less than a minute, she had completely emptied it. She then started coughing, drawing the attention of passers-by. One of them saw his companion's expression and immediately got the hint. The girl wearily clutched her throat, which was burning from the cold liquor. The man suddenly grabbed her hand and asked why she was drinking alone. He smirked and asked if she had just broken up with her boyfriend. His companion told him to stop and leave her alone, but he wouldn't listen. He could see she was very drunk and knew he could probably get away with it. The guy reached out his hand, suggesting they go somewhere more private. Before he could succeed, someone violently slapped his hand away. Moon Jae-hyun saw what he was trying to do and threatened to call the police. Realizing their scheme was exposed, the two men immediately scrammed. Moon Jae-hyun asked if she was doing this because she wanted to kill herself. He thought she was trying to get attention, but she chose the first option. She said her life had always been like this, except for the past 10 years. Haru asked if he could grant the wish of someone who wanted to die. So Moon Jae-hyun wrapped his scarf around her and compromised. He casually suggested they could spend one night together. Haru laughed and asked what made him change his mind. He just said he didn't want her to mess around with just anyone. She asked if he wanted her to be his and his alone. He agreed, but said it wasn't exactly an epic. Holmasi. She said that with all her baggage, she didn't deserve his love. Suddenly, Jae-hyun blurted out that he had tried to forget her. After that, a heavy silence hung in the air. Finally, he said it was getting cold and suggested they leave. She didn't know then how much she would regret it. It wasn't until after this conversation that she realized her mistake. The look on his face was the last thing she expected. Even so, she was glad he felt the same sting. Haru stopped, letting herself wallow in meaningless regret. Meanwhile, Seo went to a bar to drown his sorrows. He drank a lot because of her cruelty. He couldn't understand how she could say such hurtful things. Seo wanted to stop drinking, but her blow had left him reeling. Still, deep down, he knew she was probably being honest with him. Immediately after, he decided to call Moon Jae-hyun. The guy had just gotten out of the shower and was lost in thought when he realized someone was calling him. He heard Seo's voice and fell silent, as if waiting for something big to happen. That reaction immediately told him that he had indeed slept with Haru. Jae-hyun tried to play dumb, but it was no use. Seo poured out all his disappointment to this man he considered a friend. He couldn't understand why he would agree, especially since Haru had no feelings for him at all. She even said she did it to get back at Seo. Moon Jae-hyun knew himself that nothing would come of it after that one time. After a long silence, Moon Jae-hyun finally decided to answer him. He wanted me to think about why Haru, of all people, found comfort in him. He also said Seo had been hiding away, saying he needed to be alone. Jae-hyun berated him for being so irresponsible and then hung up. Seo threw down his phone, exhausted, and said he was done with all of it. The next morning, he dragged his heavy feet back to the office. His colleagues noticed he was getting gloomier by the day. They thought it was because of the boss, but it was something else entirely. In the end, they decided not to bother him and just brought him a cup of coffee. Then, a message from Sun he caught his attention. She wanted to meet during their lunch break to talk. He was about to refuse, but she said it involved his girlfriend, so he ended up showing up at a nearby coffee shop. He couldn't figure out why she had called him there and just sat in silence. The girl mumbled something, but his anger kept building. She was putting pressure on Sun-hee, saying he was annoyed enough as it was. The man fell silent after she admitted to lying to Haru. She took a deep breath and decided to explain what really happened about 2 months ago. At that time, a woman had contacted her. She wanted to talk about their boss's suspicious behavior towards female employees. From the way they treated the girls, it was clear it was the same scumbag. Sunny wanted to expose this whole nightmare because she knew she couldn't handle it alone. The woman was skeptical, thinking they might find an excuse to get away with it. They both knew that the other party might only need a written statement to escape punishment. She suggested gathering all the evidence and filing a formal complaint. After the conversation, Son, he felt completely broken. She couldn't understand why such a terrible thing had to happen to her. Son, he didn't even dare to tell her family because they would just make her quit. She was the youngest sister in a family with 3 older brothers. She loved her family, but sometimes felt suffocated by them. She longed to be independent no matter what, which was why she took this job. That was the first time she met the man who offered her a light. He saw her crying and wanted to know if she was okay. She didn't want anyone to see her like that, but she saw hope in him at that moment. Back then, she didn't know he had a girlfriend and had consulted her friend. Her friend was very supportive, saying they should definitely get to know each other. Her friend even suggested moving together to a country with lots of handsome men. When she casually complained about her mother's controlling nature, she saw a shadow. The moment she saw the shadow, she froze, a wave of fear washing over her. Son, he fell silent, trying to get a clear look at the empty intersection. At that moment, she wasn't sure if someone was watching her every move. That was the day she realized someone was stalking her. No matter how many times she blocked him, he always found a way to contact her. Her boss told her to ignore him, but he just wouldn't give up. Everything changed the day the new boss showed up. The way he looked at her, she just knew. Son, he had no concrete proof, but her gut told her it was him. Luckily for her, he couldn't pull any stunts at the company because other people were around. Even so, he was always finding trouble with Kong's CEO. For some reason, he relentlessly humiliated him, constantly putting him down, and not only that, he kept complaining to Haru about all his wrongdoings. She felt very guilty seeing him bully Kong, SEO. One day, she went to her brother's gym to help out. He tried to refuse, but she insisted on helping. The guy just had her put the dumbbells in her hand back on the rack. She was holding the dumbbells to her chest when she heard a notification sound. Sung, he freed one hand to glance at her phone. The moment she read the message, the dumbbells slipped from her grasp. The girl immediately hid her phone and said she was fine. The pervert kept harassing her and did something very disgusting with her used coffee cup. To get rid of the cup, she immediately gathered her things to leave for work. The girl decided to grab her things, thinking the cleaning staff must have taken the cup. She froze when she saw her tumbler was also missing from her desk. Sung, he checked the other workstations, trying to find it. She figured she should look for it quickly while the boss was away. The girl immediately suspected he had taken the cup home. She tried to shake off the thought that he would stoop to that level. She was scared but tried to stay positive, hoping for the best. A wave of fear washed over her when she heard the door lock click. She was really worried it might be the boss himself. Sungi tried to calm herself down and act cool, but her body was trembling. Fortunately, it wasn't the boss who came in, but Kong SEO holding her things. She was both relieved and exhausted to see it was him. She explained that she had come to get her belongings. After that incident, her days started to blur together. Chief Park kept finding different ways to pick on Kong SEO. Soon, it was time for her to go home. The terrifying messages kept bombarding her phone. She froze in fear when she felt someone grab her arm. Thinking it was the pervert, the girl jumped back with a start. As it turned out, she saw Deputy SEO's girlfriend standing in front of her. The moment she heard the question, she saw a shadow. She didn't know the answer, but the fact that she was being watched spurred her on. Sung, he thought he would calm down after this, so she said they were together. That's why she exaggerated her relationship with Kong SEO. After that, Haru smelled a strange odor on her clothes and walked away without a word. Sung-hee tried to explain that she didn't mean it, but no one listened. When she saw the look of disgust on Chief Park's face, she saw he was practically trembling with pain and fear. As the seconds ticked by, she cringed, the fear and tension building inside her. She gathered her courage and ran away from her boss. She ran as fast as she could, trying to get home as soon as possible. Sung-hee berated herself for lying and hiding everything. She wanted to text SEO, and the moment she unlocked her phone, she saw a message saying it wasn't true. After that, he started bombarding her phone with countless messages. There were so many messages that she couldn't think about anything else. The next day, Park was even harder on Kong SEO. She wanted to tell him the truth, but she found out he had gotten everything wrong. Just as she was about to clarify things, she decided to stay silent. She knew she should have told him what happened, but she just couldn't do it. Sensing the tense atmosphere, she brushed it off, saying it was nothing. She couldn't figure out why the boss was now targeting her at the company as well. Sung-hee thought he would give up, but his harassment escalated instead. She was about to email the vice president when someone suddenly grabbed her arm. He demanded she explain what she was just whispering to Kong SEO about. Now, he wasn't even trying to hide it, directly stating his twisted feelings. He rambled on, saying he even saw her sneaking into a hotel with him. Park yelled, questioning how she could do this to him. The guy was asking if that was the kind of relationship they had. He kept saying he only had eyes for her, yet she went and did this kind of crap. The girl couldn't take the pressure anymore and collapsed on the floor, screaming. She screamed so loudly that even a passerby heard her. He recognized the pervert at a glance and confronted him, asking what he was doing and who he was. It turned out to be Sung-hee's brother, who immediately told him to stop. In the end, the short guy actually managed to escape from his grasp. He tried to figure out what was going on, but the girl just ran to him. She started wailing, begging him to help her get out of this nightmare. Eventually, Sung-hee confessed the whole story to her family. She apologized to Kang Seo, blaming herself for not explaining things sooner. The guy just gave her a weary look and asked what he was supposed to do now. It seems she definitely didn't expect such a cold reaction from him. Sung-hee tried to apologize, but that just made him laugh. He said he knew Haru wasn't the type of person to do something like that. Now he realized the whole mess was because of that conversation with Sung-hee. The girl clenched her fists and said she wanted to apologize to him. She was also ready to explain things to his girlfriend and clear the whole thing up. Kang Seo said he envied her if she thought it was just a misunderstanding. The girl felt hurt and said it wasn't easy for her either. He asked if she really expected him to just forgive everything that happened. To him, her apology was just an excuse for an already broken relationship. He said he didn't want to discourage her, but he had been holding himself back from exploding. Seo said she should have just kept her mouth shut instead of trying to play the good person. After hearing her out, he said that in the end, she had accomplished nothing at all. The guy added that she should have consulted her family to resolve the issue. He was surprised she even had the guts to endure such harassment. After he called her a hypocrite, she broke down in tears. It seemed he thought the stalking was her fault. He said, her only fault was the damage caused by her choices. The guy stood up and added that there should be a limit to her ignorance. He gave her a scornful look and told her to stop acting like an adult. Seo spat that she was just a kid who couldn't handle things on her own. After that, he just walked away, leaving her completely devastated. She felt so broken that she didn't even notice someone was watching her. She was barely holding on the verge of breakdown. Sung-hee silently clasped her hands, feeling the tears stream down. After the break, she just couldn't bring herself to go back to work as usual. Her colleagues were surprised she didn't show up after her break. They found it strange that she was there in the morning, but hadn't returned by evening. They all shut up at the sound of Park shouting, as he was picking on Kang Seo again for an error in a report. Park was calling him names and demanding to know where he had been sneaking off to. He was complaining again about Seo wasting company money. He was practically mocking him, belittling his employee for no reason. He was ready to dig up anything just to find an excuse to go after him. Seo's colleague couldn't take it anymore and yelled at him to stop. He defended Seo's actions, which didn't deserve criticism in the first place. The guy had put up with this crap for too long, and he couldn't stand it anymore. Park smirked, calling them a bunch of vile schemers covering for each other. He started provoking Seo again, demanding he say something, anything. He slapped his chest with a folder, asking if he had gone mute. Park Seo said he was going for coffee with a girl, but the other guy pushed him back. He started listing all of Kang Seo's good qualities that had led to their success. The man asked him why he always treated Kang that way. Chief Park was so furious, he didn't even bother to hide his swearing. The manager was doing his best to protect his employees' dignity. Meanwhile, Kang Seo felt like an empty can, completely hollowed out. He wasn't even sure if he really existed in that space anymore. The guy was so lost in his own thoughts that he wasn't even sure what he was doing there. Park turned his attention to Seo and started pointing at him, demanding he speak up. The manager threatened to call HR and file a complaint. Park smirked and said he could get away with anything, even throwing a punch. The manager was stunned by the remark, thinking Park had completely lost his mind. The next second, Seo snapped and grabbed the short man by the neck. He moved with so much force that he slammed hard onto the desk. It seems Park's body swept everything off the desk, and a crash could be heard. All the colleagues in the office watched the scene in shock. Kang Seo gripped his shirt tightly, demanding to know why he was tormenting him. He asked what Park would say if he no longer cared about being fired. Seeing the fury in his eyes, Park began to feel he was in real danger. He said he was trying his best not to completely lose it on him, Kong SEO yelled that he didn't even know how he had put up with all this crap. He raised his fist, ready to throw a punch, thinking about everything he had done. He was saying that things might have been different if he hadn't started this crap. The manager rushed in to pull the impulsive employee away. He turned to the other colleagues, shouting for them to help pull them apart. Kong SEO didn't want to admit that his good friend Moon Jae-yoon was right. Even so, deep down he knew he had been running away from reality. He just hoped their relationship could somehow go back to the way it was. SEO hoped that the smart Haru wouldn't believe such nonsense. But even then, he had no idea how bad things were for her. He should have hugged her, but he didn't know she was about to break. From now on, he couldn't just sit and wait for her door to magically open. He had to tell her how he felt and find out how she felt. Kong SEO was deeply ashamed for not doing it sooner. He grabbed Chief Park's tie, feeling his blood boil. He realized in that moment that he wasn't angry at anyone but himself. Park Hyun-jong was so scared that snot was running from his nose. Everyone froze when they heard the shouts of other people. The HR department had finally shown up to deal with this whole mess. It seemed Sung he was the one who brought them, as she returned with them. She showed them all the messages the boss had been sending her. The colleagues were shocked that she had put up with him for so long. They scrolled through the chat history until they found something really bad. It turned out Yoon-jong had even sent her naked pictures. The manager was curious how she got HR to move so quickly. They thought the company would never be able to handle a case like this so quickly. The girl confessed she went straight to the headquarters and got the big boss involved. She threatened to go to the media and promised to dig up all their dirt. The colleagues were shocked that she had that kind of courage. They all fell silent when they heard the office door close. They cautiously asked SEO how his talk with HR went. His colleague told them that he had also been harassed. Now, they were sure that HR would finally do something about it. The manager patted his shoulder and said they would take care of everything. He wished SEO a good weekend, but the guy looked completely drained. Sung-hee looked at him, her heart heavy seeing him so exhausted. She had done everything she could, but she still felt this lingering guilt. Lately, he had been taking the same route home from work every day. In this snowy winter, he started walking this path more often. The bright streetlights brought back memories. He immediately remembered their first, super awkward kiss. Looking back, he realized he was back at the same damn place. He was standing right outside the subway exit near her apartment. Kong SEO knew he should turn back, but he couldn't do it anymore. The bottom line was he decided he couldn't run away anymore. He stepped out of the elevator and stopped in front of her door, the one that felt like home. He knocked hesitantly, as if afraid to announce he was there. Then he mumbled that it was him, as if it were some magic password. He understood that her pain intensified when the lights went out. He was slowly realizing that she was spending more and more time crying. He kept replaying that thought, trying to soothe his own conscience. He said there was never anything between him and Sung-hee, that it was all a misunderstanding. He paused awkwardly, as if preparing to drop a heavy topic. With a sad look, Kong SEO confessed that he couldn't imagine a life without her. After that, he just said he was leaving, that he had said what he needed to say. He took a few steps toward the street, but then he heard the door click open. Haru rushed towards him as if she didn't even notice it was snowing. She just threw herself into his arms, that familiar embrace she had never forgotten. Just before that, she had been sitting alone, feeling all her passion extinguished. After that, all she felt was this strange emptiness. From then on, she had no one left to blame. The feeling wasn't perfect, but it was causing her serious pain. She was suffering from this indescribable, terrible, soul-crushing feeling. The girl glanced at the falling snow outside her window and remembered their kiss. The memories brought a smile to her face because they were so awkward. In her eyes, they seemed so funny, yet all the more precious. She didn't see the point in remembering someone who wasn't coming back. The girl heard a knock on the door and thought it was her relatives again. She immediately felt uneasy because she hadn't given her address to anyone. Haru jumped out of bed when she heard SEO's low voice. Then he said she didn't have to open the door if she didn't want to. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. The fact that he had been staring at her window every night completely terrified her. Her heart started pounding when he mentioned Sung-hee. I guess she had been in pain for so long that she couldn't even imagine it was all a big misunderstanding. It hit her hard when he said how important she was. Haru felt like she couldn't think about anything else. She jumped straight out of bed. ready to run to him. She threw on a cardigan and rushed down the stairs. She just wanted to tell him how she felt one last time. Kong Seo was so shocked, he dropped his bag. She said she couldn't imagine her life without him either. She was worried because he always had so many great options. She needed to make sure he wouldn't leave, something she had been constantly afraid of. Haru apologized for acting so terribly. She cried with a smile, saying she had messed everything up. She looked him straight in the eye and said he was the only one for her. These words had been waiting for so long that even Seo started to tear up. He tried to wipe away her tears, telling her it wasn't her fault. He felt bad for not doing something to reassure her. And just like that, their 10th winter came to an end. A few more months passed, and the bright, warm spring finally arrived. So the girl really decided to seek some professional help. She started attending regular counseling sessions to try and sort out her thoughts. At first, the therapist considered suggesting medication. But seeing how quickly Haru was improving, she changed her mind. They decided to delve into the moment she found out about the cheating. The therapist wanted to know why she chose to get revenge with another man. Haru had a hard time answering because she hadn't really thought about it. She said that after what Sung-hee said, she felt like she was about to explode. The therapist wanted to clarify, and then she admitted she meant she wanted to disappear. In that moment, she felt like she shouldn't even be alive. Despite that, she couldn't bring herself to end it all. That's why she decided to hurt others and herself. At the time, she couldn't think of any other way out. Even now, she still felt like a terrible person, but she didn't want to dwell on it. She was so ashamed of it now and would never do something like that again. The woman replied that there are many things in this world that can bring you joy. Even a gentle breeze and the smell of grass can lift your spirits. Every little thing in this world has the potential to make you happy and brighten your day, like the laughter of children, the barking of a dog, and so on. That very same day, Haru felt so inspired that she decided to get a new haircut. She sat in the chair, smiling as she completely entrusted herself to the stylist. She took out her phone and saw a text message. She was happy to see messages from her friends. They were missing her. After leaving the salon, she decided to finally do something she had been wanting to do for a long time. Haru picked up the shoes Seo gave her from the repair shop. The craftsman had refurbished them to be more comfortable. Haru was practically glowing, and passers-by turned their heads as she walked by. As time went on, she realized she had been oblivious to all the beauty around her. She walked forward and saw Seo waiting for her in the distance. She felt like she had finally gotten smarter and was ready for a new beginning. The moment Seo saw her, his jaw dropped in surprise. She looked even more beautiful now, as if she were glowing from the inside out. Haru smiled and said it had been a while. She had planned every detail of this date, but they couldn't find a reservation. She showed them the confirmation on her phone, but the hostess just brushed her off. The woman told them to wait a moment while she checked. Seo saw her getting irritated and suggested they wait patiently. She was really upset because everything was starting to go wrong. She looked at him and asked how he had been. You should have seen her face when he dropped the bombshell that he had been fired. After all this time with no contact, it was the first she had heard of that whole mess. Haru tried to comfort him, thinking he was in a tough spot. Kong Seo just smiled and said he was still working there. He was about to quit until it was revealed that his boss had been behaving extremely inappropriately with female employees. In the end, they brought back the good old boss from before. Haru mentioned that everything was fine on her end and brought up the counseling sessions. He was surprised to hear that she had recently run into Sung-hee. It turned out they had met completely by chance about 2 weeks ago. Haru was heading home from work, as usual, when someone called out to her. Sung-hee apologized politely and braced herself for the conversation to come. Haru was surprised and wondered how she found out where she worked. Sung-hee confessed that she had heard it from Kong Seo by chance. She felt a knot in her stomach as she asked the reason for her visit. The girl said she had thought a lot about what happened. There was a reason for her actions, but she had caused a lot of harm. She admitted it all boiled down to her selfishness and weakness. The girl knew she realized it too late and that it was all meaningless. Now she bowed to Haru, apologizing for her extremely poor behavior. Sung-hee knew their relationship had soured because of her. She had come all this way just to say sorry for everything that happened. Haru told her how she had felt that night. She wanted to ask Seo about it all, but she didn't know where he had been all this time. She had been blaming him for everything during that time. Haru agreed that their problems started with Sung-hee. She added that even after that whole mess with her, they could have avoided having problems. Even so, they didn't know each other well enough. Sung-hee apologized to her again for feeling guilty. Haru smiled and said she was even more annoying now. She hoped she would feel guilty for a long time. It was then that she suddenly realized that all her attention, all her affection, was locked on him. The only thing that mattered to her was the feelings they shared. Right after that conversation, the waiter finally came over. Haru was the first to stand up, suggesting they leave. Seo followed silently, still replaying her words in his mind. They even got a little something on the house for the wait. The girl politely said they would be sure to double-check everything next time. Haru thanked them in her mind, but she was still annoyed. Even though her dish looked amazing, the taste was underwhelming. She looked around and realized she had totally messed up by choosing this place. It seemed Seo wasn't as bothered by her choice and didn't even bat an eye. To her surprise, the food on his plate still looked a bit strange. Seo smiled and said she had made a great choice. Haru felt it was a total lie, but she couldn't prove it. Before leaving the restaurant, she went to pay, but he wouldn't let her. Seo laughed and said she didn't order anything anyway. Haru offered to treat them both to coffee at a place she knew. They spent 5 minutes looking for the shop, but couldn't find it. After a while, another hour passed, and they still hadn't found it. Seo suggested checking on his phone, but she insisted on looking it up herself. She read an article saying it was only a 5-minute walk, but Haru missed some information and ended up walking for about 2.5 miles. She apologized, saying they had gone the wrong way. You should have seen her face when he pointed at this huge staircase. He was hesitant about whether it was worth climbing. She tried to act cool, but she was totally chickening out on the inside. Seo suggested going to another cafe, but she wouldn't listen at all. She said she had been working out hard, so this would be a piece of cake. Seo was amazed by her stubbornness, as he could tell she was just putting on a brave face. Eventually, after what felt like a million steps, they reached the top. Seeing her legs trembling from exhaustion, Seo told her he had warned her. The girl thanked him for his help and pulled her hand away. She looked down and said she was able to make it thanks to him. She walked to the door as if nothing was wrong and mentioned the reviews. Haru assured him that he would definitely find something he liked. Imagine her surprise when she realized the door wouldn't open. They saw a note on the door saying they were unexpectedly closed for the day. Haru was so dejected she couldn't say a word. In the end, they just went into a random cafe they found on the way. The girl was really frustrated because all her plans had fallen through. Seo smirked and said they should have just gone somewhere else right away. He told her not to worry because this cafe was nice too. Haru stared thoughtfully at her drink, which was piled high with cream and cocoa. She kept her cool, but had no idea how to drink it. She had heard it was their signature drink, but didn't expect this. She immediately got her fingers dirty and felt incredibly embarrassed. Seo held back a laugh, realizing she had no idea what she was doing. To make matters worse, she accidentally got foam in her hair. They both winced when they saw her dark hair turn white. After that, Haru went to the restroom to fix her hair. She was glad she hadn't spilled anything on her clothes and checked herself in the mirror. The girl was horrified to see a cinnamon powder mustache above her lip. She started frantically wiping off the cinnamon, completely forgetting about her makeup. Haru was devastated that everything was going wrong, but she kept her composure. Her feet were killing her, but she kept saying she was fine. After a while, they came to a street where a festival was being held. They stared in amazement at the huge crowd. Haru's feet hurt so much she felt like she couldn't go on. Seo saw her strange smile and suggested they take a break. The next second, a huge wave of people surged past them. Haru tried to stay put, but she could barely stand on her feet. She could only watch as Seo walked further and further away into the crowd. The girl collapsed, realizing that whatever she did was futile. Just as that thought crossed her mind, she felt someone grab her hand. Haru looked up blankly to see who it was. Seo smiled and said he had almost lost her in the crowd. Right after, he suggested they leave this crazy place. They ended up in a quiet place where he asked if she was okay. The girl looked away awkwardly, saying she was fine. She said the pain in her foot was bearable, even though it was really bad. Kong Seo cut to the chase and asked why she had invited him. Haru had guessed he would ask, but she still froze. She was worried that he had been feeling guilty about her all this time. Then she smiled and admitted she just wanted to see him. She added that she was frustrated. She looked so pathetic. She asked him not to worry about her anymore. Haru said with a smile that she would be fine even without him. She was about to say goodbye when his expression suddenly darkened and he lowered his head. She froze when he said he wasn't doing well. That short sentence made her completely forget about leaving. She stared at him in surprise, asking him to say it again. He moved closer to her and told her he wasn't doing well without her. Kong Seo closed the distance so quickly she didn't even have time to react. Then he just kissed her as if nothing else mattered in that moment. Haru felt something ignite deep inside her. She pushed him away, telling him to slow down. Despite what she said, he pulled her close again, as if he couldn't help but kiss her. Kong Seo had missed her so much that he even started to tear up. Haru could feel his hands trembling slightly on her skin. She couldn't resist these emotions any longer and reached out her hand. She pulled him closer, deepening their kiss. After a while, they finally pulled apart and gazed into each other's eyes. Kong Seo rested his forehead against hers, as if afraid of losing her. He confessed that he had been worried about her all this time. He was afraid she would be left with bad memories, and he was glad to be with her tonight. He squeezed her fingers and said he realized it was wrong to doubt her. This meeting made him understand he had been mistaken. From the moment they met again, he knew all his fears were unnecessary. He smiled and said he just couldn't help but love her. He added that she was much stronger than him and asked her to be with him again. Haru smiled happily, savoring the incredible moment. After preparing for loneliness for so long, she had finally found happiness. They could start over, and they were back at her place in no time. The tenderness of love transformed into fiery passion. Kong Seo had missed and waited for her for so long that he practically pounced on her. Their shoes were half off, and their bags fell to the floor. Kong Seo immediately sat her on the table and began to kiss her passionately. They gazed into each other's eyes, feeling how long they had desired one another. He caressed her legs, mentioning how much he had missed her all this time. The man shamelessly said he wanted to touch her, kiss her, and just be close to her. He bluntly admitted she was so beautiful it overwhelmed him. Haru smiled, pleased with such an honest reaction. She decided to tease him, suggesting they take a shower first. A little while later, they were just relaxing on the sofa. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. Kong Seo felt so uncomfortable that he blurted out they should watch a movie. When she suggested a zombie movie, he immediately shot it down. He insisted they needed to watch something softer. The girl didn't like romantic movies, finding them incredibly boring. It turned out she hated these movies because they put too much pressure on her, as if they were showing the right way to love. You know, she admitted she still didn't understand what love really was. Haru thought he was someone who had received a lot of love. In contrast, she had no family and no real friends. The girl confessed she had always longed for love, but never knew how to receive it. Seo held her hand and said that although he was scared, she had already figured it out. Despite his good upbringing, he didn't fully understand love either. He didn't think he was as great a person as she said. The man smiled and said he wanted to learn with her. Haru replied with a happy smile and agreed. She immediately kissed his lips, suggesting they learn together. Right now, after that, they felt passion wash over them again. They had missed each other so much and wanted to cherish every moment. Kong Seo explored her body with desire, as if rediscovering it. Haru was surprised to find that she felt different. It had been a long time since she had felt such intense pleasure and intimacy. She asked him to slow down so she could catch her breath, but he didn't stop. She let out a flustered sound when he kissed her again. Kong Seo seemed very pleased with the reaction he was getting. He leaned back with a mischievous grin and pointed out her sensitive spots. Haru tried to protest, blushing instantly at his words. He came at her again, like a predator that hadn't eaten in days. She melted under his touch, feeling even the most ordinary places become sensitive. The girl bit her finger, but he told her to move her hand. He leaned close to her ear and whispered that she might hurt herself. Then he slipped his hand under her shirt, sending a shiver down her spine. He gently bit her shoulder, asking her to repeat what she had just said. Seo teased her, saying he didn't mean to. Haru bit his finger hard and decided to take the initiative. She straddled him, saying his behavior was unfair. The girl ordered him to sit still and not move an inch. Kong Seo was fully cooperative and agreed to play along. He didn't look too sure she could actually do it. She decided to prove him wrong, running her hands over his back. She touched his neck with the tip of her tongue, telling him she knew him well. Then her hands slowly slid over his abs, moving lower and lower. Kong Seo blushed, trying to figure out what she was planning to do. The man looked down and saw she got the reaction she wanted. After that, he pulled her closer, telling her she didn't need to go that far. He accused her of playing dirty, saying she fought unfairly. Haru shamelessly leaned into his ear and whispered all the things she planned to do to him. The man blushed and told her to do whatever she wanted. He admitted he'd done this countless times, but had never truly known someone like her. Seo kissed her lips tightly, begging her to let him come to his senses. Haru used to think love was unconditional, something unchanging, but people were too fragile and fickle to live up to that standard. Now she finally understood that you can't save others. From now on, love felt completely different to her than before. She didn't want to be afraid anymore. She just wanted to give in. The girl was no longer afraid of her feelings, no longer hiding. Lost in these thoughts, they held each other tightly until the morning. After being apart for so long, Seo felt like a new man. Haru demanded he explain why his stamina was getting better. He stroked her hair, telling her to relax and be herself. He thought they were overthinking things and suggested they just enjoy their time together. Haru snuggled into his chest and happily agreed. He blushed and told her to ignore his natural reaction. The man could see she was tired and suggested they eat something before sleeping. He decided to lighten the mood by mentioning the time she got a chocolate mustache at the cafe. Soon, their passionate spring turned into a calm, warm summer. Kong Seo returned to work and was already catching up on the latest gossip. The manager said Sung he was planning to quit and go back to school. They also talked about how Supervisor Park was dating someone much younger than him. Seo mentioned he had been trying to quit smoking lately. They laughed at his struggles and wished him luck. He knew that change always starts with small things. The man watched the sunset and decided to head home from work. He stopped when he heard Sung Yi's calm voice. She asked if he knew she was leaving tomorrow. She remembered he once said she was a kid who couldn't handle things on her own. She admitted it hurt her because no one had ever said that to her before. She was proud of her work, but still felt weak. Sung Yi admitted she had caused him a lot of trouble by messing things up. The girl added that she was genuinely sorry for everything she had done. Kong Seo confessed that he didn't care about the apologies at all. He was still angry. Even so, he was willing to let go of the past and not hold a grudge. The girl thanked him for his understanding smile. Meanwhile, Haru decided to meet up with her colleague, Yi-rin. She was kind enough to offer to buy her a coffee. She mentioned that she would be taking a promotion test soon. She was excited about it, feeling she could finally move into a decent apartment. Yi-rin mentioned her mom promised to help with the down payment. Haru couldn't help but remember when she had claimed to be the breadwinner of her family. She realized Yi-rin's words didn't line up with what she had said before. Yi-rin mentioned that the boss said Haru's boyfriend was a total hunk. She innocently asked to see a few pictures of him. Haru suddenly realized she didn't want to show off her partner to her. Even after all this time, she couldn't shake the bad feeling she had about her. She definitely didn't expect Kong Seo to show up in person to pick her up from work. He smiled and said he got off work early so they could leave together. In the end, Haru had no choice but to introduce them. During that time, things she couldn't see clearly before became visible. It took her a while to realize Yi-rin was using her weakness. She wasn't going to let a problem like that continue any longer. Meanwhile, a man was lost in thought at an internet cafe. He stared at his phone, scrolling through social media. The man saw an account named SEO had posted a picture of his home. He immediately looked up property information that matched the photo. Haru's brother sneered when he saw the scumbag lived in such an expensive place. Haru noticed Yi-rin's intense gaze and decided to put her in her place. She linked her fingers with his and announced he was her boyfriend. The girl politely introduced them, making sure to emphasize their relationship. After she finished, Yi-rin was stunned for a second. She thought Kong Seo was even more impressive than her boss had described. The girl introduced herself as Yi-rin, saying she was Haru's colleague. After that, she left, saying she'd see them on Monday. Kong Seo suggested they grab dinner before heading home. Yi-rin hummed a happy tune all the way. A few minutes later, Kong Seo casually bought a milkshake. He admitted he was craving something sweet because he was trying to quit smoking. They decided to talk about his recent visit to his family. After a short pause, he mentioned that something had happened. It all happened when he went home to visit his parents. As soon as he walked in, his mom greeted him excitedly. She proudly showed off her new purchase. The woman was fully expecting to be praised for her mink coat. But instead of a compliment, Kong Seo said something incredibly stupid. After his mom chewed him out, his dad came home. She immediately turned her attention to him, wanting to know his opinion. The old man smiled thoughtfully and examined her new fur coat. He was about to say it made her look like a primate. As a result, he got scolded just like his son. Seo took out his phone to show her a picture of the fur coat. Haru was surprised that his mom even had social media. He watched happily as her face lit up at the sight of his mother. Seo suddenly suggested she meet his parents. He admitted that they had wanted to meet her for a while and invited her to dinner. Haru blushed in surprise. Seeing her reaction, he immediately felt it was too soon and started to sweat. He didn't want to pressure her, but she said that wasn't the problem at all. She looked away nervously, thinking they wouldn't like her. She was sure no one would be thrilled about her family situation. The man just gave her a knowing look and handed over his milkshake. Then suddenly, he started pinching her cheeks like a child. He told her she really didn't need to worry about it. Haru didn't see it that way, thinking it might be a big deal for them. He pulled her into his arms and said he didn't need their permission. The man said it was more of a formality, just so he could show her off. Sometimes his blind optimism, born from never having faced real setbacks, annoyed her, but this time, she wanted to trust this carefree idiot again. She was willing to try, even if she ended up as just a footnote in his story. Kong Seo got excited and suggested they set a time to meet. As she reached to give him back his drink and phone, she saw a notification. She said a strange account had just followed him. He was surprised anyone still followed him. Haru smiled, thinking she had been stressing over nothing all this time. That night, she felt that maybe being carefree wasn't so bad after all. After the weekend, she returned to her daily work routine. Her attention was immediately drawn to the loud female laughter from across the room. It turned out Yi-Rin was chatting with everyone, acting as if she had always been there. Haru felt a sense of relief seeing her fit in so well. She was telling a story about going to a cafe and getting her order wrong. Sawkins again. She added that it didn't feel so bad because her dad picked her up from the airport. The story sounded suspicious to Haru, so she decided to dig a little deeper. She remembered Yi-Rin saying she didn't have a father on that drunken night. Yi-Rin acted as if she had forgotten all the nonsense she had fed her. Haru decided not to press the issue after getting her answer. Yi-Rin smiled smugly. It was as if she had deliberately brought up that her dad was alive and well. Then she took out a bag, saying she had brought them some duty-free cosmetics. Haru couldn't figure out why she was putting on this act. She clearly remembered that night when Yi-Rin was bawling because she didn't have a dad. Haru thought they shared the same pain, but she had been played. She froze when she saw the strange fan. The girl immediately remembered the account's bio. She just stood there, staring at the fan on Yi-Rin's desk, lost in thought, and that's when it hit her. The whole picture finally came together. Meanwhile, Kong Seo was dealing with his own work troubles. A woman was complaining that the company didn't reimburse parking fees. She was adamant that they fixed the problem. She was angry because they had to pay for parking out of their meager salaries. Seo tried to calm her down, but she just kept pressuring him. He felt it was time to turn on the charm and asked her to calm down. The woman's eyes lit up when he promised to get more involved in the matter. Eventually, she gave in and stopped yelling. She was happy he bought her a coffee and said goodbye before leaving. Kong Seo forced a tired smile, barely holding it together. He couldn't understand how someone could talk nonstop. The man was exhausted because they were having the same conversation at every store. He wanted to go back to his old ways, but he was trying to hold back. He took out his phone and was surprised to see a text from Yi-Rin. Seo didn't reply and went straight home to get the story from Haru. He had probably managed to forget about the colleague with that name. Meanwhile, even after his girl gave him some hints, he still couldn't remember who she was. It took a few minutes, but he finally remembered the girl. Once he did, the first thing he blurted out was the short one. He couldn't figure out how she had tracked him down or why she was contacting him. He agreed with Haru that anyone could be found if you really want to find them. Haru said he didn't need to explain and that he could talk to her if he wanted to. Despite what she said, he could tell she was upset. She explained she was saying that because she was trying to trust him. She couldn't help but wonder if she was trying a little too hard to be trusting. So in the end, Kong SEO just deleted his account. His excuse was that he was tired of getting messages from strangers. He reminded her that she was the one who told him to handle it himself. And he did just that. He didn't want to interfere with her work, but he told her to keep her distance from Yirin. Haru was caught off guard that he would say something like that. It really got her attention, especially when he mentioned something else. He said again that he was craving something sweet and suggested they get some ice cream. The next day, she was back to her busy work routine. Haru walked into the cafeteria with her boss for lunch. The woman was again complaining about how much Yirin was getting on her nerves. Haru was still angry that she had texted another girl's man. Even so, she told herself it was too early to get worked up about it. The boss didn't like how Yirin tried to suck up to everyone. On top of that, she couldn't figure out why she was pretending to be rich. Haru didn't pay much attention, just thinking that her family might just be like that. The boss had a gut feeling that she was hiding something and thought she was a very calculating person. She turned her attention to So Young, who was working desperately to get a full-time position. Haru noticed So Young had started eating lunch alone recently. Since then, she had been keeping an eye on the hardworking girl. She returned to the office and heard the company phone ringing. She saw it was a call from Professor SEO and picked it up. It turned out he wanted to reschedule their meeting, but no one had told her. She immediately handled the details, feeling that something was off. After quickly confirming the date, she hung up the phone. The girl sighed in exhaustion, glad she had dodged a bullet. She turned around and saw the girl she had met in the cafeteria last week. She covered for her own call and didn't mention it. So Young apologized for forgetting to pass on the message. Haru found it strange because she never made mistakes. She figured the girl must have been too busy with work. So Young promised to be more careful and apologized before leaving. Haru decided to look at the documents in her hand. She quickly scanned the text, which she had seen before. Haru immediately realized this wasn't So Young's work. She looked at the girl and said that it was Yirin's responsibility. Now she understood why Yirin's work had suddenly become so perfect. She told So Young she shouldn't have to take on Yirin's workload. Haru promised she would talk to her and told her to say no next time. A little while later, she asked Yirin to talk for a moment. Yirin immediately sensed something was wrong and felt a wave of anxiety. It turned out Haru wanted to talk in the restroom. She tried to joke, comparing Haru to a school bully. The girl asked why she was dumping her work on a colleague. Yirin tried to play it cool, but it only made things worse. She claimed she was super busy and had only asked for help that one time. Besides, she felt she could order her around since she was her junior. Haru got angry, saying everyone else in the office was much busier than her. She demanded she explain why she thought she could push her responsibilities onto others. Haru added that she needed to learn her limits and decided not to pursue it further. She wanted to leave, but Yirin decided to ask one last question. So the girl asked if she was being such a jerk because she had texted her boyfriend. She tried to claim she just wanted to ask him what she should get her for her birthday. Haru called out her fake concern, saying she didn't need it. She added that for Yirin, it was such a small thing she wouldn't even remember. The girl insisted she had to get back to work and walked away. Yirin tried to go back to her seat, but froze in the middle of the office. Haru was shocked when she saw her burst into tears. She stopped in front of So Young, crying like a child. She begged for forgiveness, saying she was just trying to help her adapt faster. Yirin let her know that she had heard it from Haru. So Young was embarrassed and just said everything was fine. Yirin got exactly what she wanted, making Haru look like the bad guy in front of everyone. That very night, someone texted her saying she had gone too far. Everyone else was saying it was like she was workplace bullying. On top of that, the other managers thought Yirin was rich and charming. Haru was exhausted because she never thought things would blow up like this. She knew Yirin had already started sucking up to some of the senior managers. They were the ones shaping the rumors and the overall atmosphere in the office. On top of that, Yirin was obsessed with high-end brands and luxury goods. Now Haru realized those words were just a twisted version of what she had actually said. No matter how much she regretted it, she still hooked up with married men. On top of that, she bossed So Young around and acted superior. And can you believe it? She pretended to work hard when she was just slacking off. Until now, Haru had felt it was okay to treat her like a decent person. She felt that Yirin could never take anything away from her. Besides, Yirin always acted polite and respectful. Haru stared thoughtfully at the spot where Yirin had just been crying. It all made her so agitated that she couldn't even concentrate on her work. She decided to go to a coffee shop to get cappuccino. She quickly thanked the barista and took her cup. The girl was so lost in thought, she didn't even see the man walking towards her. She immediately apologized and asked if he was okay. I guess it took them both a second to recognize each other. Jae-hyun was excited when he realized it was Haru standing there. He politely asked if she was heading home. She apologized again for the coffee and offered to pay for the dry cleaning. Jae-hyun said it was fine, that the stains would wash out easily. He asked how she was doing since they hadn't seen each other in a long time. She felt awkward because the whole thing could get messy. She didn't want to lead him on and was worried about how things might turn out. Haru knew how arrogant she sounded, but she couldn't stay silent. She confessed to him that she was dating Kong Seo again. She apologized for using him so unfairly. Jae-hyun already knew all this, as she had already said she didn't have feelings. He asked if she had considered that he might still be hung up on her. The guy said he sincerely hoped they would be super happy together. Haru was surprised, since he and Seo weren't exactly best buddies. It made her feel better that he wasn't hung up on her. In the end, they exchanged pleasantries and said their goodbyes. Haru had no idea that the whole thing was being filmed. Yirin felt great about being able to mess with Haru. The next day, Kong Seo sent Haru a hotel invitation. He suggested they go together at 7 after work. Haru replied with a smile, noticing his new sticker. It was actually her birthday, and he wanted to celebrate. The boss came over to congratulate her and gave her a gift. She wanted to know exactly how she planned to spend her birthday. The boss was surprised it was the most luxurious hotel in town. She patted Haru on the shoulder and sincerely congratulated her. She guessed her boyfriend might propose. The boss mentioned that her husband proposed during an extremely cheap lunch, popping the question while she was cutting canned mackerel. Haru noticed her colleagues gathered together gossiping, but they immediately clammed up the moment they saw her looking over. Haru immediately realized they were bad-mouthing her. Just then, a colleague rushed into the office, saying they had a major emergency. He insisted that the planning department hold an emergency meeting to deal with it. Haru said the documents were ready and suggested everyone head over as soon as possible. The company, which had previously fully agreed to cooperate, had now backed out. The boss was about to say that Haru had forgotten her phone, but she had already left. In the end, the boss decided to leave the phone at the girl's workstation. She then left the office and caught up with the rest of the team. Yaren hid in a far corner of the room, waiting for everyone to leave. Holding her breath, she saw Haru's phone lying on the desk. Meanwhile, the employees were in a heated discussion about the new problem. After the meeting, they returned to the office to finalize the new details. Haru began frantically preparing the presentation for the business trip. Knowing it might take a while, she decided to contact the CEO. The girl started to text about a work emergency. You can imagine her surprise when she saw the phone suddenly turn off. She swore the phone had been charged, but now she was holding a brick. She couldn't believe her phone had broken at the worst possible moment. She heard the sound of the ceiling being completed and knew it was time to go. Time was tight, so she decided to try and make contact again before the end of the day. A few hours later, Tang Xiao finally arrived at the location. He confidently stared at the beautiful little box containing the ring. He was excited, having specially chosen her birthday so she wouldn't be suspicious. The guy was absolutely thrilled, looking forward to seeing her reaction. He was pretty sure she wouldn't cry, but he was very worried she would say no. Seo tried to tell himself that even if she refused, it wouldn't really change anything. An hour passed, and he decided to try calling her. He started to panic, worried that something had happened to her. He breathed a sigh of relief when he heard a waiter's voice as if greeting someone. You can imagine his surprise when he discovered it wasn't Haru who had arrived. Meanwhile, the girl herself was just getting off work. They were exhausted, practically dragging their feet. The boss felt sorry for making them work so late. Just then, Haru finally remembered she had a date. She rushed over to the girl before she went home, borrowed her phone for a moment, and then stepped outside. She tried to call Kong Seo, but he didn't pick up. When she finally heard his voice, she started to explain everything. She apologized for not contacting him all day. He was angry because he had been really worried about her. The girl realized he was even angrier than she had imagined and felt a little scared. He ended up telling her to go home so they could talk face to face. She sat in front of him, feeling very guilty, and apologized for everything. He was furious for a long time, angry that she couldn't even find a minute to send a single text. He sighed wearily and accepted her explanation for being unreachable. He asked if she had seen Moon Jae-hyun recently. She immediately recalled bumping into him at the cafe the day before. Haru claimed it was a coincidence and asked how he knew. It turned out Yarn had gone to see him that night. She smiled, greeted him, and said it was nice to see him. Yarn remembered him from their university days. Back then, she was sitting in the cafeteria talking to a guy she knew. She wasn't interested in anything he was saying and was just being polite. He said he was leaving for the military soon, and she would be left alone at the university. Just then, she immediately noticed the handsome guy at the exit. Her boyfriend completely noticed her reaction. He scolded her, saying her eyes lit up whenever a new man appeared. Yarn got angry and asked what business it was of his. She called him an idiot and walked towards the door. The girl immediately put on her gloves, as it was freezing outside. Unfortunately, the handsome guy was long gone that day. She swore she would get his number the next time she saw him. Afterwards, she took a call asking for a ride after class. Ever since then, she had been dreaming of that popular, handsome guy, Kong Seo. After all these years, her desperate dream was finally about to come true. She was shocked when she realized he genuinely didn't remember her and wasn't just playing dumb. It seemed Kong Seo had once again forgotten who she was. He pretended to remember and asked if she was in the wrong place. She said she came specifically for him and reminded him that they went to the same university. Seo frowned and asked if he had seen her somewhere before. She said she only found out how popular he was after he graduated. He told her to leave, but she said Ms. Jong wouldn't be coming. She took out her phone to make him understand why she was there. He froze, staring at the photo of his girlfriend. The guy definitely hadn't expected them to meet again this way. Yarn smirked and said she thought he might know something. She mentioned that rumors about the two of them had been circulating at the company for a while. Seo tried to hide it, but the fact that they worked together really bothered him. He felt helpless and could only hope his worries were for nothing. Kong Seo genuinely hoped they wouldn't even bump into each other by accident. Despite his wishes, the whole situation unfolded right in front of him. Yarn said things had gotten out of hand, as she had already seen them together several times. She thought that even if they were just friends, Haru had no right to act that way. The girl said she only came out of sympathy for him. The guy realized this might be a trap, but he didn't show it. Yarn was secretly gloating inside, happy that things were going so smoothly. She was taken aback when Kong Seo asked how old she was now. After hearing she was 27, he scoffed. The guy added that for her age, she had the mentality of a 17-year-old girl. He concluded there was a reason they met, and that a single photo didn't tell the whole story. He didn't know how she knew he was here, but he found her to be ignorant. The guy moved closer to her and said he wouldn't fall for it. He called her out, saying she was still putting on an act, even though he couldn't even remember her name. Yarn shouted that it was a lie, as the rumors had been spreading at the company for a long time. The guy threw the bouquet on the ground, saying he understood how much she looked down on people. He stepped on the flowers and said people are warned to choose their friends carefully precisely because of people like her. Since Haru didn't show up, Seo gave the flowers to her. He even said she could at least have the meal, since he had already made a reservation. When Haru heard this story, she called it ridiculous. She didn't want to make excuses, but insisted there was nothing between them. The guy said he believed there was nothing between them. She was frustrated that she couldn't reach him. He said the matter of the rumors ended here, but he was still angry. Haru apologized again and thanked him for believing her. She went up to him, guessing he must be feeling terrible. She hugged him tightly, apologizing for what had happened because of her. Kong Seo stroked her hair and said they had been through this before. They both agreed they didn't want to repeat that fiasco. Then, he thoughtfully twirled a beautiful necklace between his fingers. She tried to figure out what he was doing, but he just told her to relax. The next moment, a gorgeous silver pendant was placed around her neck. The guy smiled proudly and said it was her birthday present. He admitted it was a last-minute gift he had picked out himself. You should have seen his face when she said it wasn't her birthday. The guy was completely baffled, wondering what on earth was going on. He was stunned by her words. It didn't match the information he thought he knew at all. He said he had even checked her ID card to make sure the information was accurate. She told him that when she was a child, her mother had a severe drinking problem. All the women would gossip about why her mother favored her son so much but couldn't stand her daughter. They tried to figure out what day the girl was actually born. On the day she was born, it snowed very heavily. On the very day Haru was born, her father abandoned her mother. They used to be well off, but by the time she was born, they were destitute. The girl felt this was why her mother hated her. The woman resented her because her life was completely ruined after she was born. Haru admitted she had never once thought about celebrating her birthday. Even so, she had changed her mind now because she had someone she wanted to celebrate with. She said all these changes were because of him. The guy was surprised, saying she was was really good at scaring him. Before, she never wanted to open up about the darker parts of her past. Now he realized she was actually a few months older than him. She froze the moment he called her Nuna. She had never thought it would sound so awkward. He laughed and asked if she was into younger men. He liked her reaction, so he kept calling her that. He touched her face and said he didn't care when or where she was born. He kissed her and said he would be happy to celebrate with her on any day. Kong Seo always knew the right words to say to make her heart melt. She blushed even more and whispered something back to him. She suddenly remembered, what about the reservation? He said it was fine, they could go anytime. Then he jumped up and said her birthday was coming up soon. It turned out he had even prepared a birthday cake. He had intended to propose, but realized he had to put that idea on hold for now. The next day, Haru went back to work. She felt exhausted after everything that had happened in bed. Even so, she was in a great mood. She didn't usually wear jewelry, but this pendant made her happy. The girl looked up and saw a familiar face. Standing before her was Seo Jaeyoung, looking dejected and troubled. Haru apologized for the conflict with Yaren in the office a few days ago. They went upstairs afterwards, but Seo Jaeyoung clearly had more to say. Before Haru could leave, the girl asked her to wait. She really wanted to share something important, but felt very anxious. They ended up going back outside to talk in a quiet place. Seo Jaeyoung wanted to tell her what had happened while she was away. She was talking about that day, the day they went to the meeting. The girl returned to the office and found no one around. However, she was relieved to see Miss Yarn in the office. Seo Jaeyoung wasn't suspicious at the time, but kept watching. You can imagine her shock when she saw the phone. Yarn just picked up the phone in a trance-like state and submerged it in a cup of water. She put it back on the desk for a moment, then grabbed a napkin from the desk to cover her tracks. She smiled as she took the phone out of the cup and dried it. Afterwards, she just casually put it back where it was. She thought no one had seen her, and then returned to that trance-like state. Seo Jaeyoung was completely stunned by what she saw and didn't even know what to do. In the end, she decided to tell Haru about it. Now the girl understood why her phone had been acting up. On top of that, she also confessed that she had been doing Yarn's work for the past month. She was afraid to tell Haru because they were on good terms. Even so, thanks to Haru, she finally found the courage to speak up. She said Haru was the only one who cared about her feelings. Afterwards, Haru returned to the office. She could feel her anger building, growing stronger with every second. The girl immediately found Yaren and stared straight into her eyes. Yaren, however, casually looked away and let out a small laugh. It seemed she knew Haru had caught on and wanted to mess with her mind. She had no idea what Haru was plotting in her head. Haru's gaze scanned the room and landed on a pair of scissors on a desk. She casually walked over to the desk and grabbed the scissors. Then, she quietly approached Yaren and suddenly swung her arm.